or your office is too far away downtown or in the center of the city for them to get to you. So like I gave the example of this insurance company that set up a client tent at my office. It was an opportunity, but that's even privilege because that's a privilege for me because my office, at that time I was working at Joy FM, it's a privileged entity, so they can come and set up there. But how about if I were working in some office in Ashongman, where I live? Will the entity come and set up there? So I think those are different stakeholder tools that can be used to reach out to people, connect with people, and then build a fan base, let me put it that way, since you want people to love you, but you have to make them love you. You have to give them something to love. And I think the new way of working digitally and remotely provides that opportunity.
I think as an industry, we do agree that we were late coming into the digital party. But then in the last 1 year, we've moved significantly from where we were before COVID. COVID took a lot of companies, we are not one of them, by surprise. We launched Araba even before COVID. Bernard, insurance can be a powerful social tool.
Yes.
There are so many people walking around who do not have any form of insurance. Like Acrobato in the advert there. But a CD a month gives you 1,000 CDs of funeral insurance cover and all the micro insurance products. Where do you put insurance in your line of work? As a social tool or just a commercial discipline by some people who have money?
That's a very important question. Wow. I think, to be fair, it's more on the commercial. Although, listening to the conversation, I can see a lot of opportunities for social engagement. We are in an era of uncertainty and also an era of mistrust. I was listening to somebody from PwC 2 days ago, and she was saying, some global survey, people don't trust governments, they don't trust business, they don't trust media. So there's a lot of breakdown in trust. And I feel good stories of companies that have, in the media we look for trouble. So only 10% of people are insured, big trouble. But if somebody has been, like somebody's house gets burnt and then they give him a nice cover and he's happy, if you don't even pay for it, don't cover it. You get me? So I feel you're right. We have to think about risk differently. And in some of the discussions I hold on my show, a lot of the discussions are social. We're trying to get to the bottom of how a Ghanaian thinks. How do we assess risk? How do we prepare our mindset? And I think insurance can be one of the ways in which we recalibrate how Ghanaians think. Because we take a lot of things for granted. And then a lot of us, our health policies, God forbid. It's like, that's our number one public health policy, God forbid. But God has not forbidden because people have died. So I'm not sure, but I feel there's some connection between what you guys do, which is very objective, cold calculation of risk. It's almost like you hope for the best, but you plan for the worst. That's the way I see you guys. And I think there is some connection. I can't make the connection here, but I think there's some message in what you do for the psyche of the Ghanaian. Even the way our football teams play, the way we prepare for Olympic Games. We haven't won a medal since 92. We won't prepare. Then 3 weeks later, we want to raise funds. There's the Ghanaian doesn't. It's almost like we don't want to prepare, but we just want to trust that we are different, so it won't go bad. Do you understand me? And I feel your message can capture some of that and say, guys, people are overtaking us, not because God loves them better than us. It's just because they prepare and they do what has to be done. And you can position insurance like that. Okay, look, how come 3 people, they got a disaster? These guys have moved on and you are still here. It's because you didn't plan for it. So in the issue of planning, in the issue of preparation, and then in the issue of taking responsibility for your own destiny, I think those are social channels or ideas that you guys probably have to brainstorm about to get a national rallying. Because that's why when you ask me the first question, what makes me happy? when you get to a certain level of media, it's not just reporting news, because the news becomes one way. What you're trying to do is to get people to think in a certain way about the world. So that's why sometimes we run commentary on the shows, not because we just have an opinion. If you've done media for 15 years, there are very few news stories. Okay, but the tool for media is social re-engineering. You're right. And again, if you start perceiving insurance as part of the milieu of solutions to some of the social ills, not because you want to make money. And if you offer that service, which is why the impetus for innovation is on you, it's like, how do I get all these Makala women covered in a way that doesn't destroy my business, but also protects lives? You ponder over it and ponder over it, a light bulb will come. And in solving that problem, you will make money. So I feel if we perceive it as a social cause, we will gain better penetration. Just that it's tough. It's not easy. It requires a lot of things.
Work,
yeah.
Yes, I'm glad Bernard talked about the environment being tough, because I know people who don't like deductions on their salary.
No, we all
It's
don't.
not because they can't afford an insurance policy, but they just feel like, why should I lose money at the end of the month for something I'm not sure of? So it's about risk management. And for someone like me, I think the reason maybe I still pay attention to insurance is more because of the experience. However, I have one issue with insurance companies, is the promise versus the reality. And so you have lots of policies in the industry, child education, funeral, and the like. And I don't think when the marketeers come to us, they educate us well about what the reality is versus the promise. So I'll use a child education policy I took for my child. And I was given the impression that, oh, if you pay even this is what the outcome would be. But I didn't challenge it or put it to strict proof. So I spent 10 years paying for it until, surprisingly, 10 years came up. I only realized the child had turned 10 and remembered that, oh, I have this policy somewhere. So I went and dug up my files and went to the company because I wanted to claim. And what I claimed, even though it wasn't a bad figure, I asked myself, if I had just dropped this in a bank account, wouldn't I have been better off? So there's the challenge of what the promise is versus the reality. Recently at my office, a much smaller insurance company came to buy some airtime because they were giving out a benefit of, more than 200,000 Ghana cedis, a hefty amount. And what I admired about the chairman of this company, he came himself with his executives. He wanted to meet whoever would do the story. And then, of course, as head of news, he wanted to meet me. And he I think it's the first time anybody actually showed me what the promise is and what the reality is. And he explained, so I gave him this example of this child policy I took, and he said, you made a mistake. Because there's no way with that contribution you would have gotten this whatever amount you had imagined in your mind. And I think therein lies the challenge. People need to know that if they want a certain projection, this is the reality. It's not, oh, if you just give 10 CDs, you will get, because I heard you say what? A CD a month for 1,000 CDs.
Yes. Funeral insurance.
And I question it.
Okay. So it's that simple. I'll sell you one before you leave here. I'll sell you the 5,000,
Because
the
if it's this
30,000
simple,
one.
Bernard, then I have to stop the funeral policy.
And come for this one.
And come for this one. Because I've been doing a funeral policy for a while.
Maybe this is a special package.
And I don't know, and I've been looking at, and in fact, since that gentleman kind of spoke to me, I've really reflected on what the numbers are. So this was for somebody who had fallen ill, and they paid out this huge amount. And from what he told me, if you are anticipating that you may be unwell in old age, partly because you have a family history of, say, diabetes, hypertension, and all these ailments, it means you have to start these contributions much earlier, and it has to be a relatively hefty sum over a period. I don't think those kinds of education are given. And so in the end, the promise versus the reality is not in sync, and that then impacts the perception.
So, Kobe, just before you come in, I think the challenge or the problem with the misalignment between promise and reality is that sometimes we are not active in our buying decisions. Because you are buying a policy. What am I buying?
Yeah, but I'm relying on you as the expert to give me constructive advice based on which I make a decision.
Exactly. But that is you. But that is you. A lot of people just will not ask the right question. So you would explain, for example, when a guy wants to buy motor insurance, he sends his driver, go and buy me motor insurance. I mean, someone came to make a claim. Then at the point of making the claim, realized the driver bought him a third-party policy.
No, but on a serious note, you see, insurance is a life. I'm not holding beef for the driver. But I'm saying that, you see, you are trying to nurture a relationship for repeat business.
Yes.
And because of the challenges inherent in the product, you have a responsibility to explain. Because our literacy levels in the country are low. Okay, I know you are even looking for words for some of your insurance products in Twi and Ewe. Okay, so I'm sure some of you, when you go home, you are asking your catechist, what is the fancy meaning of this word? Which tells you a lot of people don't get it. So little I know about industry leadership is that if you're a leader in an industry, explaining and education is a sunk cost. You don't get benefit for it. But when the people understand, they are better quality customers. So I'm not saying discourage Jifa from buying the product. But if somebody sends their driver to buy an insurance product, at least put the owner on speakerphone.
Okay.
And make sure, you understand? Because if the person buys a wrong product, you may say, oh, I've gotten him for 1 year. But he will tell 10 people that this is bold. And now you come on, sit on Jifa's and say, oh, please, it's not like that. It's not true. Charlie, people believe I'm already. So you see?
Yeah.
So let's be balanced in that issue. Ghanaians generally are not that detail-oriented in terms of wanting to know the nitty-gritties. So it comes back to you to say, yes, this is the promise, but you have to do this and do that. And sometimes, like the way banks do it, they literally would train you. And when Patience was in Barclays, they used to do that. They would train you and help you before they give you the money. Because they know that if I give you the money without training, you will waste the money.
Is that the loan?
Yes. So they want to give you a loan. They will take you through a workshop as if they are taking you to do Timpa MBA. Before they give you your money that you will pay back. But if they don't do it that way, they can't say, oh, Ghanaian entrepreneurs, they are lazy, they don't pay back. No, she won't take that excuse. You say, but did you explain? Do you understand me? So it's a bit like that. It's a technical product. So your executives now have to be more, they need more social and educational skills, not just product knowledge, but people knowledge. So we are not holding beef for Ghanaians, but you can't blame us for sending our driver to buy.
But I think it's just right when he comes back, you ask him, what did you buy?
He doesn't even have the tree word for the thing he's buying.
Kobe, you had a point you were going to make.
So, chunk of Ghanaians out there, I mean, I'm a blogger, I write a lot. And people just, like what Bernard was saying, people just read the headlines and that's it. They don't just click to go and read, the details of it. And I think it has got to do with perception, how people say things. Before I got introduced to insurance, I had that perception that once I save a lot of money, and I think you were saying that once I save a lot of money, whichever unforeseen circumstance that comes my way, I'll be able to solve it. But then again, let's say if my house gets burnt, and I take all the money to go and buy a new house, it means I'm going to start from zero. So we should try as much as possible to break things down for the people. Perception.
Well taken. Seth, from the point that insurance can be a social tool, what is the regulator doing to make sure that all our market women, all our people trading on the tabletops have some form of insurance just to cushion them against that unfortunate event?
I think my mic, okay,
Okay.
it's fine now. I did a totally different, I studied a totally different subject at university. And I've forgotten everything I studied. But I remember one thing that my lecturer told me, Professor Tufo. He said that in life, there are 3 stages in life. He said that there's the first stage in which if you are fortunate like those of us at university, your parent or you have a guardian that looks after you and gives you some training or to become a teacher, a nurse, or you learn any vocational skills. And then there's another stage in your life that you actually work. But there's also another stage that you wouldn't be working, but you have to be living. And so you need funds for. And some people would also not be fortunate enough to get to that stage, but because of illness or stuff, they still have to live. And so even though we are leaving universities 21, 22, when we go into the workplace, we shouldn't just be thinking about all the things that we want to do. We have to think about that stage in our life that we wouldn't be earning income, but we still have to live. And that thing has stayed with me more than all the engineering things I learned. And it's about the social aspect of life, and that's what made me fall in love with insurance. The fact that you can have policies in place that will protect you in those times in your life that you cannot protect yourself. And it is up to the insurance industry to try and sell that story. What is the regulator doing? I think Gifa mentioned it. Insurance is what we call a forward contract. I tell my boss that, why does he let me work and at the end of the month he pays me? Why doesn't he pay me at the beginning of the month and then I work? In the same way with insurance, you pay the money to the insurance company, and when something bad happens, you actually go and claim. So it's a forward contract. It's not like I buy a phone or I buy a pen. I buy and I get my thing back. So it's a promise. And so it's very, very important that there are measures in place to ensure that when insurance companies have to make good those promises, they do. And that can only happen if we do our job as regulator. We talked about the complexity of insurance. No matter what we do, insurance is complex. That is why there's a regulator for insurance, there's a regulator for banking, but there are no regulator for farming or stuff. It's because before you go and buy insurance, the insurance company will ask you the sickness that your mother suffered, the sickness that your father suffered. They get so much information about you to assess your risk. But the Joe bloke on public doesn't have any information about whether the insurance company is solvent. So there's a work for the regulator to ensure that the insurance companies are solvent and they are liquid. And that is the tax that we have, basically. And that is a very important tax that we take seriously. And you asked about that specific question about the market women. It's about understanding that their risk and even the level of the way they earn their income is different. So a cocoa farmer will get income once a year, but you and me get an income every month. So if you design a product that you want to take monthly money from a cocoa farmer, your product will always have lapses in it. It's not because they don't like the product, but it's just because their income is not doesn't match the traditional income of me and you. So it is about all of us sitting down, understanding our customers. And that is the most fundamental issue. You need to understand their cash flows. Not only understanding their cash flows, understanding the risks that they face so that we can give them covers that actually suit them. Some of us, 2,000 is not a lot of money to us, but for them, 2,000 is important. So designing a product that a 2,000 cover will be so much important to them. So it's about understanding them. And the last thing is about accessibility. And I think that Jifa mentioned it when she talked about the fact that she lives in Ashoman and whether you bring something to Ashoman. Insurance is not something that I wake up and say, oh, I want to buy insurance. It has to be in my face. And so we insurance companies have to take the product to them. And that is where the making it accessible also happens. So your direct question is about, one, understanding the people, understanding their risk, understanding their income, and not just their income, but the structure of their income, and also making it accessible to them. I know you guys have partnership with some supermarkets like Melcom. It's a very good thing. It's a way by which, when they are in the shops, you can sell to them. There are other means. Some insurance companies are partnering Asante Kotoko and Hasselhoff. It's also another means of getting close to them. So insurance companies have to think about ways by which we can make it not just affordable, but accessible. And it's through all the platforms that we can possibly use. Jifar talked about the fact that we have changed the way we do things, and we can use the online system. There are other systems as well. And so it's incumbent upon all of us to keep always innovating. And that is the way by which we can make the product accessible to the people and also relevant to them.
Thank you, Bernard. Sorry, Seth. So, Mr. Abeku Santana, presenter with the Desperate Group of Companies, should have joined us, but the last hour had a challenge and had to step off. We have a video from him, so we'll play the video, listen to his thoughts, and we'll come back from there.
Hi, my name is Abeku Santana. Folks, thanks so much for having me. Unfortunately, I was unable to join you at the time that was specified, but I hope to join you later after the session. I'm super excited about the topic, making insurance a Ghanaian lifestyle. And this streetwise thought leadership platform, bringing media personalities to engage experts in insurance to, as it were, discuss, dissect, and digest the issue of insurance, the perspective of the media. I'm super fascinated about the topic because I think that in my life, from basic primary education until I got to tertiary, I did not hear insurance anywhere in my education, from basic primary to senior high school. And that is a fact. In Ghana, you will not come across insurance in school. So from that onset, I think that as a nation, we have not made it a conscious effort or a conscious agenda to get our people, our citizenry, to understand what insurance is about. Probably you get to know of insurance, the motor insurance, which is mandatory. And the police enforces it. Apart from motor insurance, the other general insurance and even life insurance, people don't even know the difference between general insurance and life insurance. So for me, when Hollard decided to do this interactive platform to engage media personalities, I said, come on, this is a great initiative and we must all jump onto it. So first and foremost, my thoughts and what I think about insurance in Ghana. A lot of Ghanaians do not know the function of insurance brokers, and some do not even know the existence of insurance brokers, and they don't even know what insurance brokers does. And that alone tells you that as a country and as people, we do not appreciate what insurance is, and that is why we are where we are today. But then again, there's also the issue of mistrust, even with the few enlightened, educated people who know about insurance, because once you make your payment or paying your premium, when it gets to the claim, the processes of getting the claim is so cumbersome. Sometimes, if you look at the premium you are paying and the claim that you get, you realize that it's much ado about nothing. So why should I get insured? So these are some of the issues that affect the integrity of some insurance companies we have in Ghana. And again, it's a fact that there are 27 general insurance companies registered in Ghana. Out of these 27 general insurance companies, 7 out of them, the top 7 of these 27 general insurance companies, the top 7 makes about 65% of the market share, meaning the 20 left has less than 30 or 35% of the market, which makes it very fragile. If 7 insurance companies control 65% of the insurance market out of 27, what happens to the other 20? It makes them very fragile, and it does not guarantee trust and confidence. And don't forget that this is a financial institution, and I want to be sure of where my investment is going to. So I think these are some of the issues that we need to consider or look at. Now, on the issue of comprehensive insurance, the average comprehensive insurance for a saloon car is about 2,700 Ghana cedis. And what is the cap of claim that you can get of 2,700 comprehensive insurance that you pay annually? And let's say you do not make claim for more than 4 or 5 years, and in case of an accident and you want to make claim, how much do you get? So I think that the insurance product must also be very competitive, like all other general products on the market. The competitiveness, the packaging, the price, the flexibility, the reliability, and all the qualities that comes with the product will determine its market viability. So I think that we need to make our insurance products very competitive. Though it's business, it must be competitive. If it's competitive enough and policy holders or prospective clients or prospects see value in it, why not? Then we do the education. There's an issue of a friend who signed up to a life policy in 2019, and against the odds in 2021 fell ill, and the contribution that he had made at the time, thinking that if I'm making this contribution a month and I fall sick, let's say within this short period, the life insurance cover could have absorbed a huge medical bill. To my dismay, what he was getting at the end of the day is nothing to write home about. There are some life premium that are as low as 5 Ghana cedis. And for me, if you hear a premium that is 5 Ghana cedis a month, what kind of claim payment are you going to get when you fall sick or when you are incapable of working? So even though we want numbers, we shouldn't also come out with cheap products, just to entice the market and get the numbers. But at the end of the day, what you are offering is nothing exciting or something valuable to write about. I hope to join you guys later for us to have more engagement on this. But for now, these are my thoughts that I want to share with you. Thank you so much, Holland, for having me. My name is Abeku Agri Santana, a senior broadcast journalist with the Despite Media. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Abeku. Any thoughts, any comments on Abeku's submission? Okay, Bobby.
So, from my introduction, I think that I spoke about it, and I think Abeku just said, or just mentioned that from his educational level from primary to junior to, up onto tertiary, that he got to know about insurance. So again, let's try as much as possible to also try to let it be a lifestyle. Lifestyle is the key word here. So let's try and make it happen. And again, trust. I also mentioned that for people to really put their money into a policy, they must trust the insurance company. So they must, again, work at it very hard to making sure that people trust them. I think that's a very good point that I've raised.
Okay.
I think Abeku has touched on something very important, and I think that was 3/4 into his submission about the strength of the companies controlling the market. I think that's really critical. It's critical because then really will there be competition? Because if you have one entity that is so big, like for instance, the entity I insure with, I almost feel like it's because they are so big that they can do some of the things they've been doing. But then what about those who are on the lower end? Then it means they cannot also serve the clients that may come to them. And therein comes in his argument about not having, we shouldn't put cheap products on the market. And I think that's also very important. It then reiterates the view about what's the promise and what is the reality. And I think there's a need to align those as much as possible. In terms of education, I think insurance is for the privileged. Yeah, I think so. Because you have extra money before you can be putting some aside as insurance. That's the truth. And so for many who may not have grown up in a family where there's a car, where they see their father or mother paying insurance, it's only when it really starts at that level that it then becomes a lifestyle. I don't think it's necessarily about education at school, but it's about the environment that people are growing up in and what is possible. But yes, we can make it possible for others as well, but it must match the promise that is given them. Only then will they become ambassadors for the insurance companies, such that it can gradually become a lifestyle.
Seth, as a regulator, should we be worried that just 4 or 5 companies control so much of the markets? Is there a cause for concern?
I think that's a very good question. Let me take it this way. We have very big mega churches, and we have small one-man churches. It's about whether you go there, you believe that the Holy Spirit is there, and He speaks to you. I think it's a question of whether the insurance company can deliver on this promise. Bible says, don't despise small beginnings. A company may be small today, 20 years' time, it may be a big company. So it's about the work that the regulator has to do, that irrespective of the size of the company, they will be able to pay the claims when they are due. So I think that is the whole idea about it. And let's take an example of a company that you say is small. It's not, insurance doesn't only work on insurance. Insurance also has what we call reinsurance. So even if the insurance policy that you are taking is big, there's the potential, or there's a possibility for them to share the risk with other people. So I think the very fundamental question is the company solvent? And I think once we're able to do that work, let me give you some statistics. If you SEC, 33 of their companies went into receivership. 33% of their companies went into receivership. We had 2 companies that went into trouble. Bank of Ghana. So ask yourself, which of the sectors is the regulator doing well? And it's not about size. It's about what is being done to make sure. And I am not disrespecting, or they all do a great job. But it's not just about size, because the banks were big, but some of them went into difficulty. So it's not just a matter of size. Within us, we have what we call the minimum capital. And a lot of you know that we are increasing it. What the minimum capital is that you take all the assets of the company, you knock off their liabilities, and it's the difference that has to be 15 million or 50 million. So if we are saying that the minimum capital is being increased from 15 million to 50, what we are saying is that each of the insurance companies should have a buffer above the liability such that they have a buffer at each given time of 15 million, which we are increasing now to 50. And it's all because we want to protect the Ghanaian public. So to me, I may like a small church, you may like a big church, and it's perfectly fine wherever you go to. But the main thing is that God has to be there.
Diva, the regulator says any company they have licensed is solvent. Don't worry about size. Kobe, you did mention trust in your last submission. Jifa spoke about affordability. How important are the issues of trust, affordability, accessibility when it comes to this conversation? Let's start from Bernard.
How critical is trust?
Accessibility and affordability in this conversation.
Okay. I think my little understanding of insurance is that it's a dependent variable in the sense that the level of insurance in an economy depends on many things. So the size of the financial space, its depth, its complexity, and then levels of incomes of people and their levels of education. So don't be too hard on yourself with the levels of insurance we have. I was interviewing the Senate, I think you interviewed him as well. There was a story some time ago about 50% of pensioners get less than 400 cedis.
Yeah.
300 cedis. Imagine, this is, and in fact, the whole country, I think the number of people who pay Senate, I think they are below 2 million or something, 1.2 million. For a country of 30 million with a working population of probably, even if it's 40% of people working. Now, Dan, think about this. Senate is something that you know you grow old. Even that only 1.5 million people are paying. Then whether my car will hit another car with the devil being bound. You get me? So when you look at it that way, it's not like you guys are not doing anything. Look at the levels of income of people. Look at levels of education of people. Even the financial sector, the debt is not that high. So, and you see, the more complex an economy becomes, the more different things we do, the more the need for insurance. So we all have to work for the economy to grow. Not just in terms of revenues coming in, but in terms of quality economic activity, which employs people. When people's income levels rise, they will go for insurance because he has to get the land, he has to get whatever. Do you understand me? Then the other thing is that we are in a society where trust is low. I think trust is the currency of business, not money. In the sense that if I came to Nash for a product, because I was in Legon with him, he knows me, he knows where I live, he knows my wife, and I have a certain track record. The way he scrutinizes him has to scrutinize somebody else. So it's not because I have so much money, but because he knows that he can justify a lot of, so risk is based on trust. And we know that in this society, trust levels are low. Okay, so some of this is inherited, which is why the social aspect of conversations are important. You understand me? Yeah. So if people, I don't even think it's a question of you are offering a 5 CD product. If you pay 5 CDs, that's not the issue. And I don't even think it's a question of 65% for 7 companies. Because in some countries that have more penetration, there are fewer insurance companies. So having more companies doesn't necessarily mean greater depth. Because bigger companies will be able to do things smaller companies can't do. They are better capitalized, they have better training, and they can go to places. So let's not misunderstand the issue. The issue is, can the people afford it? Because insurance, if we are all not contributing, it doesn't work. Do you understand? Because if 1,000 people all pay 5 CDs, then if 5 of you get a problem, we can pay. But if only 10 people pay, then it becomes an issue. Do you understand? And so we need, and I think that the financial regulators also need to understand the role insurance plays. You get me? They treat it, in my view, for my coverage, as a second issue. And they themselves are setting a very bad example. I mean, how can government not pay insurance? Are you serious? No, you are not saying it. I'm saying it, so don't go to it. Honestly, how can you tell me to pay that you are not paying? You can't do that. You understand? So the government itself, it's like the way they crowd out private sector. You say people should give money to businesses. Then you sell cheap money to banks. Of course, the bank will go and buy it. Then you say, the bank should lower their rates. Meanwhile, you are giving them riskless money. Well, so the government has to be serious. And this is government over the years. They have to, otherwise, we'll get to a place, the more poor people get, and this is the thing about insurance, the irony is that those who need it most can't afford it. And it's a social service you're providing. So the government has to help you. Because you guys are helping cover people's, look at the Makala women. Somebody's son will drop out of school and become an armed robber if you didn't support them. So it's not like you will, and that point has to be made for the government to understand that if those women's things are covered, it solves a social problem. So they should stop treating insurance with this lip service, lackadaisical attitude. Police will not pay insurance. Then who should pay? Do you understand? And on the media side, we have to also take on the government. Because you cannot expect citizens to do something you are not prepared to lead. That's the issue. And you are private companies, you can't go and shout at government because they'll be squeezing you. But that's not the way to go. Okay, so for me, I think it's a collective responsibility. Thank you for involving the media. We will use the tools we have to make the issues clear. But at the end of the day, let's put the citizen at the heart of the issue. Because if we care about the citizens, then we will think about what coverage they have. We don't want to, it's not just we need a record to go and tell the World Bank that 10% are covered. If your people don't have insurance, they can't pay their children's school fees when their goods get bent. Children will drop out of school, people will die young, and the country doesn't move forward. And I think that's the way we should construe it as part and parcel of the development challenge. When we do it that way, then we see it as a challenge for all of us, not just the companies striving to pay salaries. Because if they are not insured, we all suffer. So, sorry I'm sounding a bit upset, but when you put everything together, government is not doing well. They have to do better. They have to, honestly.
Thank you, Bernard. Kobe, so just to expand on the points you made with reference to trust. So trust, affordability, accessibility. There are people who still want insurance or who might want insurance but have never heard the message. How important are these three issues when it comes to the discussion we are having?
Oh, so I think when Bernard was speaking, I had to judge something out. Now, most sales personnel of insurance companies are paid on commission. So they will do anything to get money without considering the effect. Because, for instance, I'll be in the office and the personnel will come. Because you guys pay them per commission, they will just do anything to convince the client. So if you guys can do something to reward them. Because then again, it comes to trust. If you come to my office and you come and convince me, because like I said, you guys are paying them based on commissions. When you get me 20 people, this is what I'm going to give you. If the personnel come to the office or they go around and get you 30 people, that's their commission. True or false?
We have commissions, people who sell on commission, and full-time staff who sell and who earn a salary. We run it as a dual system.
Okay.
But you are saying we should pay a salary to everyone, so they don't miss.
Yes. Exactly. So
I think it's about they should be open about what the value proposition is. Because if they are being paid on commission and they have the ability to convince, and they can do it without necessarily putting forward what the value proposition is. What it means is they jeopardize trust, because in the long term, the value proposition isn't what people expected. And I think that's what Kobe is referring to. So yes, some people may prefer to sell on commission. They may not want to be on salary. And I think it's good you have a dual system so that those who want to do the commission job do it. But it shouldn't be such that then they will sell anything.
Yes.
The value proposition, because you won't know that they've done that.
Exactly.
It's only later when people come in to put a claim and all that, then the person will now complain that, but that's not what the salesperson or the marketing person told me. Unfortunately, it then comes to bite the wider corporate entity. Maybe that individual doesn't work for you anymore. So I think that's where then trust is jeopardized. And I think that's really the point that Kobe is making. I think for me, looking forward, the insurance companies need to show that they can support both the formal and the informal sector. I think for me, that's where maybe you will build better trust. Because I think with the formal sector, it's relatively easier. The people are identifiable, reachable, and all that. But I would really be happy if we could pilot something. And I don't want to belabor the point of going back to Makola, but Makola has so much money in there, it's almost a disappointment that maybe the value proposition isn't available to them. So if we could come up with a way to pilot some of these informal entities. Some of the farmers have unions and all that. The poultry farmers who are having to have their birds culled because of bird flu, for instance. I mean, I think these are some relatively good identifiable groups that we can probably run some pilot program on and build up from that. And if it works well, then they can also become ambassadors. And then it can go beyond just Accra or the big cities. And I think that's probably the next stage. Bernard talks about the fact that you shouldn't beat yourself up. And in a sense, I agree, because I think insurance is a difficult business. It's not like banking. Because with banking these days, without an account, there's really a lot you cannot do. So I think it's an emerging sector. It's a growing sector. And I think the opportunities for good marketing and innovation exist. And that can be, leveraged on. I think what Hollard does in terms of the advertising, and where I work, 3FM, I know Hollard had something they did on the business news in the morning. And I think that was something good. And I think it's something that can be replicated. For local language stations, I think there's a great opportunity there to do some of these things in the local languages so that people can tap into it. And I think that is really helpful.
Thanks, Jifa. So Jifa, on the issue of insurance for the informal sector, I think there are a few products out there. Maybe the challenge is how we are selling those products. For instance, our Mebambo product is a reaction to that need. I mean, you don't have to walk into any Hollard insurance office. You just need to dial *269#. And then in 10 minutes, you buy a funeral policy for as low as 1 cedi, as I said, for a couple of 1,000 cedis. So yes, there are a few products in that space, but maybe as you've so well articulated, is how we are selling it. Ghanaians don't like the topic of funeral. So if you say you are selling a funeral policy, then maybe from day one you have a challenge. So we'll look at how we sell the products. Seth, from where you sit, what do you think about how important do you think are the issues? Accessibility, affordability, trust?
I think that my co-panelists have made very good points about it. And to me, it's important that as an industry, we get people who are independent, understand the issues to give us feedback. And I think all the points that they've raised are very valid. And how Bernard put it once at the beginning was that there are 3 barriers. People need to know about it. People need to appreciate the benefit of it. And the last one is about people being able to trust the product. The only thing I would say is that, as you said, there are some products that targets the informal sector. They do exist. And so maybe the question is about making a bit more noise about it. Maybe those of us who are on the panel do not know about it because they are not the target. You are not the target group for them. So they will be targeting people in the markets. They will be targeting people. So they won't come to Mr. Che for you to blog about it because those are not your sort of audience, are not the people. So maybe you would excuse us if you don't know about it. But there are quite a lot of those sort of products. There are products that we call mobile insurance. There are products that are sold on a mobile platform. There's quite a lot of those products on the market. Our statistics say that 30% of Ghanaians have those type of insurance. So those products exist, but there's a lot more that definitely we can. But I've taken note of all your points because it's good to get those sort of feedback so that we can actually improve upon what we have.
Okay, so let's get some feedback from social media. Podo Wisdom says, Ghana's insurance system is poor. After buying my car, I used it for 10 years. Nothing happened to my car that I need the support from my insurance company. After selling my car, what benefit do I get from the insurance company? Wisdom, so insurance is a pool. We put like risk in a pool. So you are lucky in 10 years, you didn't have to come to the pool. But other people in the pool made claims. So we use the monies, as we say, the premiums of the many to pay for the losses of the few. So that's how it works. Cordell says, great initiative, kudos, NIC. Ali Mohammed says, lack of risk consciousness and state lethargy are contributing factors as well. Jan Ikote says, I think insurance is not popular mainly because it is not a tangible product or service. So the person involved doesn't fully quantify what they are paying for. Lois Edusa says, a lot of the misconception come from the agents. They provide inaccurate information to get people to buy insurance because of their commissions. I think we've discussed that issue. Moba Amako says, what Ben is saying is true. Nanaya says, I believe we have stepped in the right direction. That is educating the public to appreciate insurance more. Mr. Jagger, Larry Jagger says, good one, Holland. To summarize and wrap up this conversation, how can we make insurance a lifestyle decision? How can we make it sexy? How can we push it on the list of to-dos for any person growing up? I mean, if a person lives, once he can make an income, and we advise that once, with Mebampo, at least one city, everybody can afford a policy. How do we push that agenda on the list of items for everyone? Kobe.
I think Bernardo started.
Then how do we make insurance a lifestyle choice?
If the answer were easy, we would not be here. So it's a good question, but it's complicated. And I think a lot of what we've said here, what I would say is just continue what you are doing. You are definitely on the right path. And I feel it's a collective responsibility for the industry leaders to keep doing this. I'm hoping to even have, I'll give you an example. We usually go for these banking things. Almost every month, some bank is doing something where they will come on air, we'll go and talk. I know it's not the same, but you've started well. Broaden the conversation, bring some, in fact, you can even do some with competitors, right? And bring media. If you do this for a year, you'll be surprised how far it will go. You can do this in Chi, do this in Tamale, do Takrady version. It's engagement. So for me, that's the way to go. And if you can spread the, because you can't pay for this all by yourself. And no one company can change an industry. No one company can change that. Even BBC alone doesn't determine what happens in British media. Think about that. So, but you've started well. You are showing leadership. Keep going. If the conversations keep going and the questions keep getting asked, you will be shocked at the outcome. So for me, I'll just say, keep going. That'll be my closing comment.
Thank you. Jifa?
I would say that tap into the things that matter to people. And I think the politicians had a nice slogan in, I think it was 2012, what matters to you matters to me. What matters to them matters to me. So you need to, probably research will help you identify what are the things that matter such that when I do my product, it will be attractive. Just a quick example. I think one of the great things that ever happened to me was a national health insurance when I needed to have my children. Not because I couldn't afford to pay for it, but because by the time I got to hospital, I was in quite a crisis situation such that there was no time to pick money. There was no time to pick any money. And it didn't happen to me once. It happened to me 3 times. And without health insurance, which at that time the Kufuor administration put in place, the story maybe could have been different. So we need to tap into things that are close to the heart of people. And women I think are usually ignored in this whole conversation. There's no woman who will not save the little bits that they have just to put their child through school or get them to, or they want to achieve a certain goal, whether it's for their family or whoever, to mark a milestone or whatever. So I think developing products also for this category of people, women, who you may tap into something that is dear to their heart, may actually be a game changer for you. And I think those are other things that we can look at to make it more interesting, more sexy. In terms of media, I think we need some more interesting advertising. So now we have a lot of animations and things that can make us connect with the subject, which tends to be a bit more technical or a bit over our heads. So I think there are opportunities for that. You have a very good marketing communications professional, I think Cynthia, and I think those are things that the team with your agency, you can brainstorm, and those are things that even children will remember, and they will sing along, and it becomes part of them, and then ultimately part of their life.
Thanks, Defy. I still remember the Great African advert with the cats jumping from the story building almost 30 years ago.
I think Glyco also, the man falling into a big mattress, we all thought something was going to happen. Yeah,
those were very engaging.
Yeah.
Kobe, anything to add?
I think that, am I working? Hello? I think we're in a world of audiovisuals. And so like the first said, like animations and so it should be, hello.
Yeah.
So there should be like a conscious effort in having a lot of engagements on social media. Like I said again in my preamble, anytime I wake up and I go online, at least when I click on the hashtags, things that are trending, there should be like deliberate effort in trending some of your products online. So that when I click the hashtag, immediately it will take me through some of the things and the activities that you guys are doing. And anytime there's a workshop, conference, that anything that is happening here, you should let people connect with what you're doing. So if, for instance, you're having a board meeting and you think that there's the need for the public to know that this meeting is going on, try and bring the people closer so they will know that they are part of you. Because people also have the perception that these people are corporate. And so, what am I going to do with them? So let's break the barrier. Even though we are in suit and tie, let's try and connect to the average people on the street.
Seth, how do we make insurance a lifestyle choice? And any final comments?
Okay. I think that there are a number of things that can be done. Some of them lies in the power of insurance companies. And those has to do with things about trust, treating customers well, making sure that what they actually advertise is what is the reality. And I think Jifa mentioned that a lot. But there are other bits that lies with other stakeholders. And I think Ben clearly articulated that through what the government has to do, what the regulator has to do, and even what the media also has to do. And so there is a number of players and the different things that we all have to do. I think that as regulators, I think is very, the issues about big, small, maybe there's work for all of us to try and educate Ghanaians about whether big or small is important or whether it's about solvency. So this has been a very useful talk. There's been a lot of very good feedback for all of us, and I just hope that we take it on board, we note it down, because it's a reflection of what the Ghanaians are saying about not just insurance companies, but we as regulators, we are the people in the industry. And if we do even 10% of the things that has been suggested here, it will go a long way. But you made a question, make insurance sexy. I don't think insurance can ever be sexy. So we need to just accept that. And we also need to, maybe I'm talking, let me just say one thing. Insurance is needed by the poorest people, but insurance is bought in countries that are doing well. So when the country is growing, when there's a middle class that cannot work in the middle class, they are the people that can really afford insurance. So there's the long-term things that we have to do as getting Ghanaians educated, getting Ghanaians richer. And when that happens, insurance will take off. We wouldn't even have to do some of the things that we do. But those are the long-term things about developing the country. But there are things that insurance companies can do now. And this is about making sure that Ghanaians don't think that we are out to rip them off. And when there's a claim, we don't employ claim managers whose duty is to deny claims. Once they feel that you are trying to rip them off, they won't buy insurance. And so we need to think about it that way. But as Ghana develops, insurance will take off. That one, we wouldn't need to do education or anything. People would, in other countries, there are financial advisors. But how many of us even here have gone to a financial advisor? Because a financial advisor has to sit down and let you know that you need insurance, you need pensions. Is the pensions you are paying adequate? And it will come if we develop, and it will be a natural thing. But the immediate things is about treating customers fair. Once we do that, it will go a long way to complement the education that we do.
So thank you all. A quick one before we leave. Bernard, have you ever heard about the media liability policy before?
No, I have not.
Zifa?
No.
Okay, so we'll cover your liabilities you assume in your course of work, just in case you say what you shouldn't say and injure anyone's personality, and they come for you. We'll talk later. So thanks, everyone. In summary, what they are saying is we were in the dark just a few years ago. We are out of the dark. We are coming strongly into the light. We should keep doing what we are doing, and in a matter of a few years, we'll be where we want to be. Before we go, there's a final video we will listen to. If the video is ready, can it roll?
All right, it's been a great session this evening, listening to our panelists tell us how we can demystify insurance and make insurance more interesting and exciting for everyday Ghanaian. As Ghana's favorite insurer, we believe it's our responsibility to make insurance more accessible, more convenient for anyone who wants to get an insurance policy for himself or his family, or who wants to really get insurance for his property or his business. H.Insured is a thought leadership program which basically seeks to demystify insurance, do away with all the technicalities, all the jargons that you can think of about insurance that makes a lot of people actually too scared about insurance. We want to make insurance a lifestyle in Ghana. We believe it's possible. We believe that everybody who values his life, values the life of his family, values whatever property he has, should be able to get an insurance conveniently, easily, by just walking to any insurance hall or dialing the insurance shop code and be able to get himself an insurance policy. I believe you did enjoy this session. We're going to be having a series of such sessions, so watch out on our page and watch out from Holland. As we do all the time, we'll keep you updated when we're going to have these sessions again. I did enjoy it. I believe you did it. So when you think of insurance, don't go far. Just come to Holland, and we shall redefine the future. Thank you very much for all those watching from far, and then in-studio guests as well. Thank you.
Enthralling discussion, very engaging. Thanks to our panelists, Seth, Bernard, Jifa, and Kobe. Thanks to all our in-studio guests. Thanks to all those who watched us on Facebook. Have a good evening, and we'll meet on our next edition.